When you reach 70, certain things don't need to be done. Especially these 6 things. Have you ever wondered what life would be like if you let go of the things that no longer serve you? Imagine a life where you are no longer caught up in meaningless pressures, where each day passes more lightly, more peacefully, and is filled with joy. What if you discovered that by simply letting go of certain old habits, you could enjoy life more fully? Today, we will explore the things that people over 70 have chosen to let go of. And trust me, they are enjoying life more than ever. So, take a seat, relax, and get ready to embrace these meaningful insights from those who have experienced life's ups and downs. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss out on more valuable content. And if you agree that life becomes better when we learn to let go of unnecessary burdens, leave a comment with 1 below. Now, let's dive into the things you no longer need to do when you turn 70, and why doing so can help you live a freer, more peaceful, and joy-filled life. 1. No need to pretend to care about trends. Let's be honest. How many times in your life have you chased the latest trends just to feel like you were keeping up with the times, from fashion and technology to the newest social media crazes? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself, do I actually like this, or am I just trying to fit in? But then, when you turn 70, something magical happens. You stop caring about keeping up with trends. You realize you don't need the latest smartphone. You don't have to wear the most fashionable outfits, and you certainly don't have to understand every trendy slang term that young people are using. You start living life on your own terms, and that brings an incredible sense of freedom. Meet Judy, a 73-year-old woman from Texas. If you had met Judy in her younger years, you would have seen someone who was always up to date with the latest trends. She would spend hundreds of dollars on a designer handbag just because it was hot, or upgrade her phone every year just to have the newest model, even though she mostly used it for calls and texts. But one morning, as she struggled to squeeze her feet into a pair of painfully high heels just because they were in style, Judy suddenly asked herself, "What the heck am I doing?" That moment changed everything. Judy decided she was old enough to prioritize comfort over the standards that society had imposed on her. So she packed away her high heels, tight-fitting clothes, and expensive items she never really needed. Instead, her wardrobe is now filled with loose, comfortable outfits, and of course, a collection of fluffy slippers that she absolutely adores. The first time Judy showed up at a family gathering wearing a cozy, oversized sweater and soft slippers, people looked at her in surprise. A distant relative asked, "Don't you care about fashion anymore?" Judy simply shrugged and smiled. Why suffer just to look good when being comfortable is what truly matters? And you know what? No one judged her. In fact, many people were secretly jealous of her freedom and confidence. Judy had learned a valuable lesson that takes some people a lifetime to realize. You don't have to chase trends to feel valuable. So, what's the takeaway here? Wear what makes you feel comfortable. Buy things that genuinely serve your needs, not just because they're hot. And most importantly, live life on your own terms, because in the end, what matters most is not how you look, but how you feel. Have you ever felt pressured to keep up with trends? If so, share your thoughts in the comments below. 2. No need to say yes to every invitation. Think back to the past. How many times have you accepted invitations to events you had no desire to attend? How often have you reluctantly said okay to plans just because you didn't want to disappoint someone? We grow up believing that we must always show up, always be social, always please others. But then, when you turn 70, you realize none of that really matters anymore. As you get older, you no longer feel pressured to be everywhere, attend every event, or maintain appearances by nodding along to every invitation. You start valuing your time more, because time is the most precious thing you have. Meet Fred, a 76-year-old from California. In his younger years, Fred was the life of the party. If there was an event happening, Fred would be there, drink in hand, flashing a bright smile, and cracking jokes that had the whole room laughing. He never turned down an invitation because, to him, showing up meant being part of something bigger. But one day, Fred looked at his calendar and realized he was exhausted. The crowded gatherings, the dull small talk, the obligatory meetups, none of it brought him real joy anymore. So Fred decided to do something he had never done before. He started saying no. At first, it wasn't easy. When you've spent a lifetime saying yes, turning people down feels unnatural. But soon Fred realized that the world didn't fall apart just because he skipped a party. People didn't hate or abandon him simply because he declined a weekend get-together. And most importantly, he felt better than ever. Now, Fred enjoys peaceful evenings with his cat Whiskers, reading the books he always wanted to but never had time for. He no longer has to pretend to care about meaningless conversations or stay at social events longer than he wants to. And the best part, he feels freer than ever. One day, when a friend called to invite him to a birthday party, Fred simply said, "Thanks for the invite, but tonight I'm spending time with myself." No apologies, no excuses. And you know what? His friend completely understood and respected his decision. Here's the lesson. There's nothing wrong with saying no. You don't have to be everywhere. You don't have to please everyone. Your time is yours. Spend it on what truly brings you joy. 3. No need to follow a perfect schedule. From a young age, we are taught that an ideal day must follow a strict schedule. Wake up early, exercise, eat a healthy breakfast, work productively, and end the day with a perfectly relaxing evening. Sounds great, right? But what's the reality? Trying to stick to a flawless routine can become an overwhelming burden. When you reach 70, you realize that life doesn't always need a detailed plan. You no longer feel pressured to wake up at a set time, check off every task, or live by a rigid schedule. You learn to relax, enjoy life naturally, and that's what truly matters. Meet Gail, a 72-year-old from Florida. In her younger years, Gail was a strict planner. She woke up at exactly 5:30 a.m. every morning, took a 30-minute walk, drank a warm lemon water, meditated, ate a perfectly balanced breakfast, and mapped out her entire day. She believed that without a structured schedule, life would become chaotic and unmanageable. But one day, after a yoga session that ran longer than planned, Gail felt exhausted and asked herself, "Why am I forcing myself to do all of this every day? Is this really how I want to live?" And that was the moment she decided to make a change. Now Gail no longer sets an alarm. Some days she wakes up early, other days she sleeps in until noon. She no longer feels guilty if she skips a workout or indulges in a breakfast that isn't perfect by the book. She allows herself to enjoy slow mornings, sometimes just sitting on the porch, sipping coffee, and letting time pass without worrying about anything. One day, when her daughter asked, "Aren't you afraid of losing discipline?" Gail simply smiled and said, "Sweetheart, I spent my whole life following schedules. Now, I just want to live in a way that makes me happy." And that's the valuable lesson. You don't need a perfect schedule to have a good life. Happiness doesn't come from controlling every moment of your day. It comes from letting things flow naturally. 4. No need to keep up with the news every day. Think back. How many times have you turned on your phone or TV just to check the news, only to feel anxious, stressed, or even angry? Sensational headlines, negative reports, and stories that keep you worrying all day. Do these things actually benefit you? When you turn 70, you realize that you don't need to keep up with the news every day. The world will continue spinning, whether you follow every event or not. And more importantly, you don't have to let TV headlines dictate your mood. Meet Walter, a 75-year-old from New York. In the past, Walter never missed a single news report. Every morning, he turned on the TV for the latest updates, read the newspaper at lunch, and checked breaking news on his phone at night. He believed that staying informed about everything happening in the world was necessary. He feared that if he didn't, he would be out of touch. But then Walter realized a harsh truth. The more news he consumed, the more stressed he felt. Stories about wars, conflicts, economic crises, All of them made him worry about things far beyond his control. So he made a bold decision. He stopped watching the news every day. Instead of filling his time with negative reports, Walter started enjoying more relaxing evenings. He chose to read books, rewatch his favorite sitcoms like The Golden Girls and Cheers, and most importantly, he felt happier than ever. One day, a friend asked, "Walter, aren't you worried about what's happening in the world?" He simply smiled and said, "If something truly important happens, I'll hear about it from someone. But I don't need to drown myself in worry every single day." And here's the lesson for all of us. Not following the news daily doesn't mean you don't care about the world. It simply means you're choosing to protect your own peace of mind. Have you ever felt overwhelmed by constantly keeping up with the news? If so, share your thoughts in the comments below. 5. No need to force politeness. From a young age, we are taught to always be polite, to keep the peace, and to smile even when we don't feel like it. We try not to offend anyone, we hold back our true thoughts, and we nod along just to keep things smooth. But then, when you turn 70, you realize something. You don't have to pretend anymore. You don't have to nod when you disagree. You don't have to fake interest in a conversation that irritates you. You don't have to force a smile when someone says something ridiculous. You have the right to be honest. And it's amazing when you finally embrace that. Meet Ethel, a 77-year-old from Chicago. In her younger years, Ethel was a people pleaser. She agreed with opinions she didn't truly believe in, sat through conversations she didn't enjoy, and smiled even when she felt uncomfortable. But one day, Ethel asked herself, "Why am I pretending? Why can't I just be honest?" From that day on, everything changed. When her neighbors kept complaining about the weather, instead of nodding along, she simply shrugged and said, "We can't change it, so why not just enjoy the day?" When her daughter-in-law brought over a dish she didn't like, instead of forcing a compliment, she politely said, "Thank you, dear, but maybe next time let's try something different. I've had enough of this one." At first, people were surprised by Ethel's honesty, but over time they started respecting her more. They knew that when she spoke, she truly meant what she said. No one had to guess what she was thinking because she lived authentically, no longer afraid of upsetting anyone. One day, her grandson asked, "Grandma, why don't you try to be a little more polite?" Ethel just laughed and said, "I've been polite long enough. Now I choose to be honest." And from that moment on, she lived true to herself. No more forcing, no more pretending, no more fake politeness. And here's the lesson. You don't have to please everyone. Be honest about how you feel. Say what you think without fear of judgment, because in the end, being true to yourself matters more than anything else. Thank you for taking the time to watch. Wishing you peaceful, joyful, and fulfilling days ahead. See you in the next video.